Government has already established 4 dedicated courts for the prosecution of individuals and companies involved in illegal mining. The president has further directed the Attorney General to work with the Chief Justice to increase the number of courts handling such cases. And 4, government urges organized labor to call on all presidential candidates and their respective political parties to sign a pact committing themselves to the fight against illegal mining. In the light of these measures, government requests that organized labor suspend its planned strike on 10th October 2024 and collaborate with the government and all stakeholders, relevant stakeholders, to combat the Galamsey menace effectively. Government remains fully committed to the fight against illegal mining and calls on all stakeholders to join in this effort. Yours faithfully, yours sincerely, call Abaka Esuman, Esquire, legal counsel to the president and acting secretary to the president, is to the leadership of organized labor. Attention to the Secretary General, Trades Union Congress, copy to the Vice President of the Republic at the Jubilee House, the Chief of Staff at the Jubilee House, and also the Honorable Minister of Employment and Labour Relations at the ministries here in Accra. So this was what the presidency wrote to organized labor. Now, in a sharp contrast to that, the University Teachers Association of Ghana also wrote on the 9th of October, the same day, that the leadership of organized labor and Professor Ransel Jampo is on record to have suggested that the TUC General Secretary and the CLOSAC boss came into a meeting that organized labor had summoned, and they came with an already prepared speech. When they were confronted, they apologized for same, and that's where organized labor decided that the strike was going to be called off. Well, UTAG disagrees. So the National Executive Council of the University Teachers Association of Ghana has successfully concluded a referendum regarding industrial action to support a nationwide ban on mining and prospecting for gold and other minerals in forest reserves, farmlands and rivers. The referendum, which involved participation from all 15 member branches of UTAG, had a total of 2,762 members casting their votes. The results are as follows. Yes, 2,153 votes representing 77.95%. No, 607 votes representing 21.98%. Abstain, 2 votes representing 0.07%. With an overwhelming majority of 77.95% voting in favor, the National Independent Elections Committee declares the motion carried. This decisive outcome reflects the unwavering commitment of UTAG members to protect our environment and livelihoods from the destructive impact of mining activities in ecologically sensitive areas such as forest reserves, farms, and water bodies. Following the referendum, the NEC convened an emergency meeting invoking Article 19, Clause 5 of the UTAG Constitution. In line with this constitutional mandate, NEC has unanimously declared an immediate indefinite strike. All members are directed to comply with this decision until the government formally announces a nationwide ban on mining and prospecting activities in areas, protected areas, including forest reserves, farmlands, and water bodies. Thank you for your steadfast support in this critical national cause. Signed by Professor Mamudu A. Akudugu, National President, and Dr. Eliasu Mumuni, who is the National Secretary of the University Teachers Association of Ghana. Now, also yesterday, we do know that the CSOs who had united in their call for the president to act in this whole fight against Galamsey had put out a statement. Now, I'll share a bit of that statement with you from the CSOs, Aola Sewa and the eco-conscious citizens and their team. They had put out a 4-point asking the president to take a particular decision and which they think will be in the interest of the Republic of Ghana. We'll share that with you as we travel along the show. We're working the phone lines so we can get the authorities involved in this. Let the CEOs, the labor unions come and explain themselves as to why the whole nation had wanted them to act in a certain way, but they decided to act in another way. Well, the CSO demands, that's the civil society organizations' demands, are that all parties or persons aspiring for political office must sign up to the Reclaiming and Restoring Water Bodies, Farmlands and Forests and Upholding the Polluter Pays principle. So the last point, it's in the presidency's letter, or that they are released to the media and by extension to organized labor, is reiterated in a call by civil society organizations. 2. Immediately declare a state of emergency in line with Section 31 and 31(4) of the 1992 Constitution in order to fight the environmental terrorists. Deploy the police and military to remove all miners and mining equipment from our water bodies, forest reserves, and farmlands. 3. Repeal LI 2462 and ensuring that there is no mining or logging in protected forest reserves or globally significant biodiversity areas. 5. Pause small-scale or community mining and stop issuing licenses. 6. Cause environmental terrorists and all persons named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report to be investigated. This is signed by Aula Sewa. She is the senior slave or the senior servant at Eco-Conscious Citizens here, bringing us to some 27 minutes after 8 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
3FM Sunrise.
You're live on 3FM 92.7. Professor Ransford Jampo is a UTAG executive at the University of Ghana, Legon. Abraham Kumsing is with the Federation of Labour. Mr. Kumsing, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sure that you have seen what your organized labour have done. What do you say?
It's very sad. It's unfortunate. So, we don't have to allow ourselves to be demoralized, and going forward, we have to reorganize ourselves and then move on.
The UTAG wing of organized labor, they say they are going on with the strike regardless of what organized labor thinks. Will the Federation of Labour follow suit?
No, you see, that decision, I wish I'll get an opportunity to engage in leadership. So what we have to do is to rather help to restructure the organized labor. We have to. So we can speak with one voice. Because that will make us stronger, and more powerful. But if you leave this to fragmented groups, the impact will be very, very weak. You see, what we are dealing with, the government like this one that we have, if you don't allow these breakups, these factions to take up such fight, because this Galamsey, you must know that it is not these boys who are inside the forest who are doing it. They are being sponsored, and according to Professor Boateng's report, the kingpins are within the presidency at the Jubilee House. So what if we are fighting? We are fighting a very powerful force. And so we leave ourselves to be divided, and then we think we can succeed. It may be something. But if they were able to infiltrate our ranks and break us apart, like it has happened, then we know that if any, I don't want to, make them feel bad, to discourage them. What they are doing is okay. And it's nationalistic, and it is good for this country. But going forward, they know strategies being worked on by these dangerous people in power. They can do so many funny things. For me, I think that we have to rather get involved in the restructuring of this organized labor. Because as it is now, we don't have organized labor. We don't have it. We have the TUC that is, taking lead and calling us to come and meet and that sort of thing. And so they are dictating the pace, which is not right. You see, so we have to really, because the law, I think I mentioned it here, the Industrial Relations Act, which gave the TUC the powers to represent the Ghanaian workers, was amended in 2003. And unfortunately, the 2003 Labour Act only mentioned organized labor. but there was no definition to it. They didn't define organized labor. So we will have to now, organize ourselves and make sure we define ourselves and the role that we are going to play. But now we don't have any defined, functions of organized labor. So when the time comes for any meeting, the TVC will write for on behalf of organized labor, and then we are brought together, and even at meetings, things are not, it don't go well. I mean, the way even meetings are held, it is not too good for us.
So, Mr. Galamsey, are you saying that organized labor is disorganized?
Totally disorganized. You see, I told you last that when the National Relations Act of 1965 was amended, because that law gave recognition to the TUC. It was there. But we challenged that law based on the ILO Convention 87 and 98, and then the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, saying that law was not consistent with international conventions and even our local law. And because of that, this National Relations Act was a threat. And TUC's name was removed from it and replaced with organized labor. And the problem we have now is that since the law did not define organized labor, we have to find a way of organizing ourselves, register the union, and be able to function. Because when the law was amended, the TUCs continued to hold itself as representing Ghanaian workers. And because of their attitude, because they were calling it, if they see that you are very troublesome, when you come, you will be talking, they will not even invite you. So we went to court, 2013. GFF took TC to court to challenge their mandate, to challenge their authority to represent Ghanaian workers without recourse to other workers' groups. And the case traveled for 3 years. Then they realized that they themselves had no strong case. So eventually, we agreed. There was consent judgment at the High Court, and we were given specific directives as to how to structure ourselves. The document is there. It's there. And since then, Frederick Ebert even sponsored seminars and workshops for us to be able to, consolidate these structures. But the thing is, you realize that as soon as this organized labor structure is put in place, their influence and maybe some local people that they were benefiting may not be coming to them. So they started, backtracking, and as at now, even though we have a draft constitution of the organized labor, we have all the other, information that could have made it easier for us to represent or to handle cases like what recently, we try to deal with. But I think they didn't allow it. And they feel that they should continue to represent Ghanaian workers, calling meetings, even though they put the heading of that A4 sheet, organized labor, then the TVC will sign for, and then invite us to. And that is not how this thing should work. It's like Ghana, we don't have a standing national team. When the time comes, then you go out there to France, to Germany, to Britain, to go and bring players to come in. How can they perform? They can play well.
I see.
So what we want is I want, for example, to rather help us to really establish, to consolidate organized labor, because that will make everybody stronger. Any unit within the organized labor is stronger. Instead of they're going on their way, it will be very, very tiring.
Well, the voices on the streets and on social media are suggesting that the leadership of organized labor have gone to take some envelopes, and that is what is influencing their decisions, because Professor Jampo earlier, before the breakaway of UTAG, had indicated that Mr. Joshua Ansah and Dr. Bampo had brought an already written speech into the meeting that was yet to decide what to do or what not to do. What do you say to that as well, the envelope?
Oh, for the envelope, I don't have evidence. And so this, because depending upon, the demeanor of somebody who has been, charged or authorized to do some work, and if the person, his body language, is not very unacceptable to people, that's one. These allegations will be flying all over. But me, I don't have evidence. It is possible because you remember the vice president, the event that he organized in Accra, the media people who went there,
right?
People were giving them 20,000 in envelope and that sort of thing. So for that one, they were able to mention names that this guy was giving so much, this guy was giving so much. But in this case, yes, it could be true or not. But I don't have any evidence. So
has Abraham Komsing, as leader of Labour, taking an envelope before to influence your decision?
Check my track record. Check my track record. I will not be for that. This government, they will not even attempt. They know they will not attempt to even approach me. No, they say they will know that this guy is not correct. So let us not get closer. So me, God forbid. And especially when the issues involved have to do with life, people's life. What do I gain? To go and take this money to compromise my position for what? For what? For myself? But you do these things that it's not good. The crisis that will follow is not small things. So me these things today, God forbid, I will never go in for that.
Are you satisfied with the statement that government wrote, for example, suggesting that they're taking steps to immediately suspend the LI that allows for mining in forest reserves? They are sending some more military troops, including naval boats, to patrol the waters. They want all presidential candidates to be, if you like, brought to the table to sign a certain pact to agree that they will fight Galamsey. I mean, these are the key highlights of what government says we are doing in this renewed fight. Are you satisfied with those?
NDC is not in power. Ekodonko is not in power. Apollo is not in power. So why don't you start? Why do you leave the scene and if any of them can continue? So how do you at this stage want to commit them for what? What can they do? So that one is out. That one, I think that I don't know who brought up this idea, but you see, you can't trust these people. What I'm saying is that if you have read Professor Mpongwatin's report to the president himself, if you have read it well, please go back and refer to some pages, and you'll see that the kingpins of this Galamsey are all located at the Jubilee House. They are there. And so these boys who are in these the bushes and the forests and along the river, banks and all these things, these boys here, they just want to survive. But the people, because they don't have the means to acquire this champagne and these excavations and all that. No. So the people who are doing this thing are with the president himself. So if he's saying that, how many task forces, this Galam stuff and all these and that, but 4 or 5 of them, what did they achieve? They go there and get influenced by, I don't know how they get, they themselves will also get involved and do certain things. So what I'm saying is that what the government is saying now, that they are going to, revoke the LI. So in the first place, it means that they didn't think of the implications of passing this LI. They don't think. You know that this LI is going to open the floodgates for people to be, trooping to the forest and to go and listen. Now you are going to invoke it. So is it going to reverse the activities that have been, have occurred there to destroy the forest and destroy the waters? That's what they are going to do. So they say this thing and I just laugh. But for example, I wish that I'll have one-on-one with you so that we find an effective way of dealing with this matter. The battle is going to be easy for only you to fight. And so I want that two of us, we are committed. We are committed. And the other, Nat is committed. NAGRAC is committed. I know. Even the public utility workers union, they have all resolved to support what we are doing. So I think that UTAG shouldn't take up this matter alone on their own. It is too heavy for them to do it alone. So they should consult and get others. We are ready and prepared to get involved.
But if the question of trust, integrity, and credibility is raised, because those were the three questions that, if you read Professor Jampo's Facebook post, he had raised that two leaders, and you rightly stated that because you don't have a proper structure in that domain, the TUC always takes the lead. TUC boss, Crossack boss came into a meeting that was yet to decide the way forward from the side of Labour. And they came with an already prepared script, according to Professor Jampo. Why would anybody want to follow through with a leadership of that nature if they are not even willing to listen to the membership that they lead?
You see, the problem, I have said it already. We are not sorted. Last one I got to when I got to the TC hall for the meeting, they were inviting me to join them at the top there, the Secretary General's office. I refused. Because we are not very careful. You fall in a trap because I don't know what has transpired, what has happened, and you just because, oh, come, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't work like that. So it was at the main forum that later I wanted to talk, and I was not allowed to open my mouth, and so I just said, okay. But it's all because the structures are not in place. And see, when you have headache, you go to a clinic. You see the doctor, look, my head is paining you. You will not immediately give you paracetamol or whatever. So let me find out what is the cause. Maybe you have constipation. Maybe it's malaria. So some time to determine what is actually wrong with you. High blood pressure or what. But the moment you see, head is paining you, doc, then you write, oh, come on, woman or a parani, whatever. No. I mean, that doctor has serious problem.
I see. Mr. Combs, let me ask you. You say this fight is too big for UTAG to fight alone. As a Federation of Labour, why don't you also publicly declare that your thoughts are at variance with what Organized Labour has declared, so that you can join UTAG to fight this, since you believe it is too big for them to fight it alone?
No, it don't work. You see, all we have the Labour Act. I don't want to say this to demoralize them or to even give government the ammunition to deal with them. I don't want to open up. But I know why I'm saying that battle is not for UTAG to take. This is not another leading issue. It's not a grievance with your employer. And then, if you take it up, they can go to court. Unless you want to fight the court suit, they can go to court. You don't have issues with the university teachers. If it's about the pollution of the water bodies and all this, why? Are you the only workers group in this country? Why? If you will be able to deal with the highest, most organized labor, and then you want to fight it alone, it's very, very difficult. And when they go to court, the court, I'm sure they will uphold whatever argument that the government. And you know how they can scheme. So I don't think that UTAG can succeed, because this is not a grievance and industrial relations matter that you can deal with it the way they are doing. If they have issues with their allowances, their salary, working conditions, and that's one, yes. But for this one, it must take all of us collectively to fight it. But if they want to localize this and say they are fighting for it, yes, maybe to the general public, yes, they will praise, you are doing well, you have. But honestly, the impact will not be felt by this government. Even when the medical,
the GMA, right,
the nurses opted out, I said, we are in trouble. Because you see, when you are fighting this national battle, for instance, you need some critical, sensitive sectors of the economy to also ground to halt. So those days that we were fighting government have been in German all these years. We have the Valco there, we have the Alu Wells, we have the textile companies. German is
the industrial hub, right?
Yeah. But we always rely on guidance. Now they call it TOR. We rely on TOR. Because one TOR holds the red flag in support of the industrial action. Then there is trouble because they know that fuel will not flow. So government quickly will have to rise to Tema and please ask, what do you want? What can we do for you? And we achieve whatever we want. So those days, so you use some very, very, very sensitive areas to support or to back your demand. That's why the medical doctors, the nurses, came away people that we relied on to help us. So when they pulled out, I don't know whether local people went to, or I don't know, but when they pulled out, then we started feeling something. So what I'm saying is that strike action, yes, you may punish the students and create a lot of problems there. But the government, I'm sure, they also have a way of dealing with it. And I don't want us to get there.
Okay.
So, Prof, I think that I have his contact. I'll try to reach to him, and then we'll see how best we can help to structure the organized labor properly, so we can really take our place in the scheme of things. So we should be able to deal with any
having taken this step. And my final question to you, having taken this step, do you get a sense that the outrage and the uproar by the public against what organized labor has done, if you go and restructure, you will get the same support that you have been enjoying over the years from the public?
Why not? Because we did it to deal with this snake brutality. We succeeded. So, I mean, it's not, you cannot win every match, all games. No. We are not too weak at that. But the hotels, they all remember what they did to get to that, that result. And so for this one, maybe we're not very smart enough to plug the holes that we have allowed some rodents to enter, some reptiles to enter, to come and disorganize us. But going forward, it's not too late. We have to restructure ourselves and make sure we have the court directive there already, compelling us to make sure we put in place proper structures that can be relied on to fight these kind of battles.
Mr. Abraham Komse, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time. He's the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour. Joining me here in studio is 10 minutes to the top of the hour 9, and Daniel Opoko is joining me in studio. He's our Chief Labour Correspondent. Danny, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yesterday,
right?
What happened?
That's an interesting question. Actually, yesterday, the various labor unions came to the meeting with some kind of a mindset. The mindset was that the earlier meeting told them that they were going to meet before Thursday, that's today, to declare possibly maybe a nationwide strike. But on Tuesday, they went into a meeting with the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. The National Security Officer and other top government officers were in a meeting with organized labor at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. That meeting dragged after 10 p.m., where they were able to somehow convince organized labor to suspend its intention to strike. It was a reason they rolled out these various initiatives that military will be deployed.
Right, with the boats, naval boats.
Exactly, labor portions or some members of labor will be asked to join the team to monitor exactly what goes on. So, yesterday in the meeting, those who came to the meeting had wanted a proper briefing.
Right.
Because those who attended the Ministry of Employment's meeting were just a few leadership at the place.
Right.
Then they said they walked into the meeting with a prepared speech. When you see, I happen to have cited exactly the content of that speech. The content of the speech was not different from what happened between the initiative rolled out by government.
Right.
The only thing which was added was henceforth, based on ABCD, organized labor is suspending its intention to strike. Because they believe that everything that they asked for, government has been able to meet about 80 to 85% of the items they raised.
But this was the same Joshua Ansah earlier who had held a press conference to say that they will go ahead with the strike because what they were asking for, government has not been able to fulfill.
Exactly.
So if he is bringing the same script into a meeting, to say that, well, now because of this same thing that I said, government has not fulfilled, we are calling off the strike. It creates some confusion.
Right. So after they had met the president gave a directive to the Minister of Employment who engaged them. So it was at that meeting that they varied a lot of the agreement. So most of the contents of the document that they read yesterday were exactly what Labour was looking for.
Okay.
So for instance, ban all mining activities in the area, set up courts, deploy military, all those things were additions made by organized labor where they said, okay, then clearly we are going to join. So when they looked at initial paper that they presented to the presidency on also the issues they discussed as against what the new thing that they had, they believed it was unnecessary for them to proceed and go on a nationwide strike because obviously they wouldn't have even gotten the support of other members to join us. Was before yesterday there were those who had issued statement not to join the strike. Others also had issued a statement to join the strike. So once after yesterday's encounter, they realized that it was unnecessary to embark on a strike, having been able to get about 80 or to 85% of the issues they raised.
I see. The state of emergency.
Right.
Organized labor had indicated that. The CSOs in this whole fight have also indicated that.
Yeah.
Did organized labor ask for it again?
Right. So on the Tuesday's meeting, organized labor also emphasized on the need for the state of emergency. But what they were told by the president was exactly what the sector minister of employment repeated, and also the National Security Board also repeated, that let Parliament reconvene. So when Parliament reconvenes, then that's where they'll take it from. And we're told that Parliament will reconvene on the 15th of October, that's next week. So wait for Parliament to come, then Parliament will sit on the state of emergency matter, then also the ally also will be dealt with. That was the assurance they were given by the key partners from government. So based on that, then they had to make some concessions and agree, okay, if Parliament is reconvened next week, then let's wait and see. That's why the tail end of their statement is that we are going to monitor. So when Parliament reconvenes and those critical, the two major critical issues are not discussed, then they are likely to see a reconvening of organized labor. Then something else will happen because already there are agitations among themselves. There are cracks. There are people who are thinking about trying to break away from the body because what they had intended in the meeting actually, unfortunately,
Professor Rance, for example, says the meeting ended in a rancorous manner and it was acrimonious.
Exactly, and that yesterday's was
describe for us. Let's understand what happened in that meeting. So
last week there was a similar incident between the General Secretary of UTAG and the President of Coalition of Consent, Ali Awudu.
Right.
Ali Awudu, in principle, said that he doesn't believe in the strike. Even though if Labour should take a collective decision, he will support.
Right.
Then the UTAG leadership that attended the meeting said, okay, for us, we think that we have to proceed with the strike.
Right.
Then Ali concluded by saying, now, if that is the case, you can go ahead with the strike. Then that created a banter, almost getting to the point of exchanging fisticuffs.
Oh,
exactly. Then other leaders came in to stop them. Yesterday,
at the Labour meeting,
they
wanted to trade blows.
Exactly. And yesterday, the same incident again happened when other leaders were saying that if we have been able to get this agreement with from government, then why don't you suspend the action? Then the branch of the youth said, no, we were looking for something concrete.
Right.
Government should come out and announce a temporary ban on the whole system. Then let's see how we can resolve the problem. That also created another agitation. So realize that exchange of words, tempers flared out, people throwing their hands. I do recall the Deputy Secretary of ICU, Mr. Benima, was nearly hit on the face by a member from the University of Ghana. We were like, oh yes, because it was just terrible. And having been within the labor space for some years now, for more years now, you realize that 2 days ago and yesterday's meeting, very terrible. Going for labor should be able to address some of these arguments. Yes, normally in your meetings you have heated arguments, but not to the extent of trying to exchange fisticuffs. And when other leaders must come in to stop them, as a Bampuado, because he was able to separate because of his size. So he took advantage of that to be able to separate a lot of them, and other leaders were able to stop. And I remember Madame Perpetual Furampo, for the president of JNMA, also stepping in to ask others not to fight and all that. So they left the meeting yesterday with some kind of anger among some members, and others felt that it was okay. So let's proceed.
Can we say Galamsey has broken the front of labor?
Well, you can argue that way because a section of them believe that the Tuesday's meeting and employment, they should have been part of the meeting, but unfortunately they were not invited, and they wanted a proper briefing yesterday and they didn't get the briefing. So somehow you can say it could break their front, but typical of Mr. Joshua Ansah and the leaders that we have, they will call them, speak to them, and they will later come back to.
Do you think that Labour missed the point yesterday by going ahead with a strike to give government a signal that this is the level of seriousness they want to attach to this, so that government will move speedily to
engage them?
Yes.
There are some Labour people who have argued that if you would want to embark on a nationwide strike, you call the news conference today, you declare the strike today, without necessarily satisfying the proper requirements or not going to the National Labour Commission. But when you give ample time, means you are ready to engage. Then you are not ready to embark on a nationwide strike.
So the first deadline and then the extended deadline and the meeting in between.
Very well. So the first statement they issued was 11th September. And he said, government, we are giving you up to the 30th of September. So 30th September, when you meet and you speak, then you declare the strike. Then before you go engage. So whilst the members are on strike, you are engaging. But when we give...
That will be your trump card to the negotiations.
Exactly. But when we give ample time, then obviously government will step in. Because no government will want the total shutdown of the economy. So the more they were giving time, the more background consultation discussions were taking place. And some of us realized that then obviously Labour was not going to proceed with the strike. They were not ready for any nationwide. So if indeed they had wanted the strike, then clearly they wouldn't have been giving a lot of time to government for government to engage.
How does Labour feel about the fact that people think they have gone to collect envelopes?
Yeah, the issue
to also influence them. How do they feel?
That issue also played out. Even among themselves, they were even accusing each other that we suspect that some people have been manipulated, others have been taken into other meetings where somebody have been compromised. But the point, it boils down to having been able to adduce evidence to some of these issues being raised. That is that's the issue now, and nobody has been able to adduce evidence that X amount of money has been given to Mr. A or Mr. B. But these allegations are always parallel, and it has been very consistent. Every labor union leader has been accused of taking A, B, or C from a politician or from within government circle. All those issues are still playing out. But once you are unable to prove that, we just leave it as it is, unless there's a concrete evidence to indicate that Mr. So and so took X amount of money. Because I remember having asked Kinali Audu, the president of Coalition of Concerned leaders have been accused of being compromised. He said there's no evidence to that, and that issue is consistent. They have been accused on that tangent. So if obviously you have not been able to provide, then clearly that issue dies out.
The last bastion of hope, according to Labour expert Austin Gami, was that it's only organised Labour that can get government to act in the way that will satisfy all Ghanaians that there is indeed a fight that's ongoing. Because as we speak, this renewed deployment of military, etc., it has not settled the minds of people, because people say the last time you sent the military police there, they went collecting, we found them, they detained themselves. So people are skeptical. Now organised Labour has missed the plot.
For instance, that was a very reason Professor Jampo was raising the concerns that let's critically analyze the issues government rolled out. let's have a temporary ban. Then we begin to take initiatives from that.
Right.
There are people saw organized labor to be the last hope of workers.
Right.
To mount pressure on government to put a ban on small-scale and illegal mining order. But unfortunately, labor was unable to do that because they said they got something around 80 to 85%. They felt the strike was unnecessary. Now, there's a bit of the political undertones where we politicians, some have been able to infiltrate the
labor front.
The labor front. So we realize that there are people who believe that if you proceed on strike, then you belong to NDC. If you don't proceed on strike, you belong to NPP.
Right.
So the political underpinnings clearly really affected a lot of the discussions they had at the meeting. That was always a lot of tempers rising and a lot of tempers being flared. Let's proceed on strike. No, let's go. Then if you don't go, you belong to party A. If you go, you belong to party B. The political influence within the labor front is a major problem that labor must deal with. Or going forward, they will lose the confidence of the entire membership nationwide. But there are those who believe you don't go on strike, then you belong to ABCD. But with the strength of the politicians, they are always able to infiltrate the labor groupings. Even right when they are conducting internal elections, they are conducting national elections. Politicians are able to infiltrate, support, and sponsor members to win elections. When they come, you do their bidding. So that's a problem they have that which they have to deal with.
The nurses were there yesterday.
Very well.
But were the doctors there? Medical Association?
The Ghana Medical Association did not send any representative.
Do we know why?
Because they said collectively they support the fight against Galamsey.
Okay.
But they don't have any roadmap or any set of rules for them to embark on the strike. That also has created another problem within the GMA. Somebody has petitioned the Executive Council of GMA to initiate an impeachment process against the president, Dr. Francis Rebo.
That's Dr. Bayete. He petitioned
very well.
to kick out Dr. Srebo.
But Dr. Srebo is saying that he spoke on the express mandate of the Executive Council. So Dr. Bayete cannot petition him to be impeached. For that reason, yesterday, unfortunately, we didn't see any member of GMA at the meeting. So I think probably because of some of these underpinning problems, but nobody was there. For them, they don't support the strike. So clearly, once the strike is off, it is okay for them.
Danny, I thank you very much indeed for your time. Did the Labour Front also say what they want to see further beyond what government has announced? Parliament is resuming next week, but reconvening next week. But did they say what more they want to see?
They said they are going to monitor. They are going to be part of the team to monitor. But who are those going to do the monitoring? Because the last time a team was sent to the Galamsey side, they ended up joining the Galamsey activities. So if organized labor is saying we are going to appoint A, B, C, D to join the military team or to join another set of teams to be at the place, who are those going to? What can we guarantee that they will also not
be compromised?
Exactly. So let's see. Labor is saying they are going to monitor. Let's see the structures they put in place and what they were able to put together to do the proper monitoring, so that they will still regain the confidence of their members.
Daniel Opoku, thank you very much. Just before you go, the Black Stars are playing Sudan today. I get hope or it be some way.
That's once we are Ghanaians, we still
support whether we want it or not.
We are just hoping that the Black Stars are able to put some smiles on our face. Because there's a lot of tension in the system.
Charlie.
So when they put some smiles on our face,
at least it will ease the tension.
Exactly.
God no go shame us.
I hear you.
Oh my God.